program. There are programs and offerings in managing your finances, going to graduate school, what's next in my life, surviving the first year on the job, et cetera, and all of them will be with alumni and or administrators who are sharing their time, energy, and efforts today with you. Make sure that you're here to ask questions, engage, and have a conversation. We also have the networking and noon event following this at 12:30. And in fact, I encourage you to stay, meet some other guests that will be coming into today and joining us for, again, sharing information and networking opportunities. I get to stand here and greet and look like I run the show. But in fact, I want to tell you that there were lots of folks who worked on this program from Career Services, from LCMS, representatives from each of our 5 schools, and others. And so let's give them a round of applause and say thank you. I also want to mention, while I have the mic, I want to mention 2 or 3 things, or 3 things actually, that I think are worthwhile. And that is on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday from 4:30 to 7, we are having our job and internship fair here in Emerson Suites, and I would invite you to come. There will be some 75 organizations.
172 job and internship opportunities plus summer.
So you just heard that, 172 job and internship opportunities. And so I would encourage you to come, take a look and see what is there. And in fact, another great way of networking and making connections. I also want to mention that today, starting at noon, we will be doing headshots for LinkedIn in our photo booth. And we welcome anyone to do that. Free opportunity to, again, have a headshot made for your LinkedIn account. And finally, that's really done through a volunteer, and I want to recognize Tucker Mitchell for his work. Tucker's from the class of 2016 and is a gracious volunteer with us and has done lots of great work, so thank you. Thank you. The last thing I will mention is I also want to thank the class of 2016 for all of their work and support with this program. And without them, we couldn't be successful. So let's get this program started. I'm going to introduce John Frazier, Associate Director of Career Services, who will begin this panel this morning.
I don't do well being stationary. Some of you know that. Good morning, how are you? Good. All right, that's solid for probably an hour when most of you aren't typically up on a Saturday. That's fair, okay. Good, well, it's exciting to see such a large turnout. And we're going to kick it off with a wonderful panel. These are folks who have been where you are. How about that, right? You guys remember what it felt like to be on that side of things? That's why we brought them back. And the truth is, in the future, we may be bringing some of you back. Right? So, what I want to do is get this thing kicked off, and this is your opportunity to ask these folks questions, but I'll help you get warmed up. So I want to start by welcoming, that's English, right? Our panelists, and ask them to introduce themselves, just briefly.
Beautiful, good morning. I think when I was in college, I don't think I would be here at 10 a.m. in the morning, so you guys. You know, some of you familiar faces, Chris Washburn, some of you know me as DJ Washburn. Classic goalie at IC. Always a pleasure to be here. After IC, I kind of moved out to Vegas, that's a different story. Now some of you know me at the other place I work. Did that for, actually been at Moody's for 8 years now. But in terms of business and stuff, I've actually had the opportunity to do a few different things. Moody's, start my own business, Washburn Entertainment, and I also now do real estate. So it's a brief overview of me. You can see the rest on Snapchat, DJ Washburn.
Hi everyone, my name is Chrissley. I am a 2012 business grad, marketing and management, and I'm currently in my first year of graduate school at Syracuse University studying higher ed in student affairs.
Hi everyone, good morning. I'm Susan Robinson. I originally from Jamaica, came here, graduated in 2012, majored in biochemistry, and now I'm at Cornell University as a research technician 3 in the Department of Microbiology and Immunology in the next year.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Skylar Griffenberg. I was a health science major for HSHP. I'm currently a pharmaceutical sales representative for Haugen Pharmaceuticals.
What's up, everybody? My name is Stefan Haugen. I was a 2015 biochemistry graduate, and I'm an associate scientist at a company called Quintiles, a contract research organization.
Yeah, there we are. Now we're on for real. So I'll ask the first question, but I want you to think about what do I want to know from these folks. So panelists, my first question to you, I want you to think back. 2, 3, 4, 5, I mean, okay, wow. One more coffee needed. However many years it was for you. When you were sitting in these seats and you were a couple of months away from graduation, my question is 2 parts. What were you excited about? And what were you worried about?
Any Donald Trump fans in the house? Just kidding. Wow, at the end of school, Tell you what, one of the things that was really concerning was I used to live at 128 Hudson, and the place used to be trashed every night. So I was worried about my security deposit back because it was an absolute mess. Well,
Did you?
No, definitely not. But I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and I think that's okay, especially being in your position now. I was going to graduate with a sport media degree. I think I didn't know what I wanted to do, and so after I graduated, I didn't have a job lined up. I did something a little adventurous, drove out to Vegas. That's a different story, and here I am now. So I think it's okay, especially these days, to not know and don't stress out about it. One of the things that did worry me, that I'm sure will worry some of you guys, is what are your parents going to think? What are your family? What are they going to say? They just paid for your college. The pressure's on to, all right, go find a job. You better do this. I know I had that coming, and you know, I just kind of went with it and ended up here I am today. So I think if you just keep your eyes open, network, talk to people, and maybe you'll find what you want to do down the road just by knowing people. I didn't go to school for business. I should have, because that's what I do now. But it kind of happened after college. So I think just keep your options open, talk to people, experience things, go be adventurous while you can. You don't have a mortgage, you don't have kids. Hopefully some of you don't have a relationship. So go do something. Maybe you'll find your calling at that point.
Okay, so I kind of had a similar situation. I graduated with my business degree and I had these really high expectations for myself. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna move to New York City, I'm gonna have this awesome job, I'm gonna be with all my friends, and that was not the reality for me. I visited New York City for a networking trip actually, and I hated it. And I wanted nothing to do with moving to the city, and that it's a great place to visit, it's just not for me. So I moved back home. I'm from Syracuse originally, so pretty close. And I got a job at a law firm and thought I wanted to go to law school. Kind of took that time to do, like, as cliche as it sounds, soul searching. So I would definitely encourage you, if you don't know what you want to do, again, it's okay, and your interests and your passions will change. So that was something I was nervous about. What I was excited about, I think, was also that unknown, that I could do whatever I wanted. So I would just encourage you to pursue what you're passionate about, and you'll end up being much happier in the end, I think, too.
For me, when I think like 2 months out, I don't think I felt any joy. And even graduation day, everybody was so happy and, oh, I'm just gonna go here and there. But as an international student, if you don't have something lined up afterwards, it's home. And after being here for 4 years, that was very terrifying for me. So those last few months of college was very an emotional roller coaster for me. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in a research lab, and I wanted to gain some experience in doing research before going to medical school, all these grand ideas. But when I started filling out applications, they're like, oh, what's experience do you have? I'm like, experience? I'm in college, I did some classes. What do you mean by experience? I work in a lab, yeah, sure. What do you want me to do all these techniques? Well, how am I gonna get to know it? It's a small school, small lab. You don't have this equipment, what are you talking about? So, I fell into that dilemma where I needed experience to get a job. Didn't really have much. Had to make whatever I had look beautiful, as if I did some great things in college to make up for it. So my advice to you is that it's never too late or too early, or actually it's never too early to start looking for a job and getting an internship in the place that you hope to be. At least try from that point. And also, it's a small school. For those in the research field, join programs that help to kind of push you into learning about new techniques, different techniques, even more than what we can get here. Because don't limit yourself to IC and what IC can offer, because there are a lot of other things out there that you can do that will help you to gain that meaningful experience, or that experience that they're looking for, because it's a competitive world out there, and you have to make yourself as competitive as your compartments. You're going up against students from Cornell University. I have undergrads in my lab. I train them, and they have the experience and exposure to a lot of different techniques that I never even dreamed I could have here. So go out and look for things, and don't think that, oh, I'm a freshman or whatever, I'm a senior, I have another few months. Yeah, you don't. So it goes like this, so make sure you start early.
For me, I mean, when I was a senior, I was like, how do I even do this? Like, what am I supposed to do? Some of my friends were going on interviews, and I was like, how did you even get an interview? Like, what do I do to do this? Like, how did you do that? So, I mean, you have to understand it's a big learning process, and that it takes time. For me, I did a couple things. I was doing some coaching for a couple months, and then I'm from downstate. And originally, my thought process was, I was a health science major, so I wanted to do something more on the business side of healthcare. So I was like looking into administration and management. I worked for Memorial Sloan Kettering on the Upper East Side at Manhattan Cancer Center. You learn, and you just figure out how to do it, and you know, you're going to be discouraged at times, but you know, I was in there answering phones that wouldn't stop ringing, and you get the hang of it, and you're like, oh, this is easy, let's like move on to something else. You didn't even know you could do that, you know? So, you know, it's a big learning curve, and I think it's going to take time. I didn't work for the whole summer out of college. Kind of just was like still figuring out like how to work all this. So, you know, LinkedIn, there's so many things out there now that you guys should be utilizing, because once you learn the process and once you start going on interviews, it just helps you build. You know, you're kind of understanding how things work. So you got to understand that, and I think, you know, just try and start early, and that's really it. Everyone kind of has a different path. So.
For me, I was super anxious as a senior. I was trying to get a job. That was kind of my goal, was to get a job before graduating. So I was in the career services office all the time. I was actually PCA while I was also here at IC. So I was in there. I actually met my current workplace contact through career services. She reviewed my resume at one point, and just kind of hit it off from there. But yeah, I started my job a week following graduation, and I would kind of advocate more for the DJ Washburn approach and go to Vegas maybe for the summer. Just so you can kind of find yourself and maybe start your job later. Yeah, there's a lot of switch that needs to happen, and that's happened for me along the way, but it took longer, and I'm still kind of seeking an adventure, so that's definitely part of it.
Thank you. Interesting. No one's journey is the same. So raise your hand if you heard something from our panelists that feels like your story right now. That's a lot of hands. Yeah. You'd be surprised. So what I want to do now is I want to open it up to your questions. What do you want to know? These folks are here. They've been very open already. I think they shared some great stuff. What do you want to know? What are you concerned about? Do you need some advice on them? Okay. So 2 hands or something, and then I'll come back to you. I'm going to do it this way. I think it'll work better.
Thanks for coming, guys. The one thing that worries me is student loans. How has that experience been, and how much does it suck?
Oh, it sucks, all right. Remember, I think I put mine into, well, let's go now. I think I put mine into the firm in the first 6 months or so. I don't know what the regulations are, it depends on your institution now. But yeah, those weren't fun, and that was certainly, I would say, motivation to do something, to better win on the tables, you know, to pay those. So yeah, it is pressure for sure, and it's not fun, but it's the way of the world. It's what you have to do, and what can you do about it, right? You pay them, or you screw yourself. So there you go.
As someone who, I worked full-time for 3 years, so I was paying on my loans for the past 3 years, and yeah, it sucks seeing almost half your paycheck go to those loans. But now that I'm back in school, I'm not paying on them right now, which is really nice. But it's just about budgeting your money. I should probably be a better advocate for that, but it's just, you gotta set it aside, and you have to look at longer term, like if you have a car payment, if you have a cell phone bill, rent, all that stuff, it adds up pretty quickly. So just always keeping it in the back of your mind. And I split mine up at different times of the month, so they're not all coming out at once. So if you can do that, I would definitely suggest splitting them up.
Real quick, just to add something, I thought something really helpful for you guys. Make sure you do take care of them. You don't do anything that's going to affect your credit score, because it may not matter to you now, but it's very important a few years down the road when you start looking at a house or something. I see it all the time now. People in their late 20s, they kind of hurt themselves in their early 20s out of college because they didn't pay their loans or did something to their credit, and it's something they could have prevented before. So that's a good heads up to you guys now. Make sure you keep that intact, because it will be very valuable down the road, especially for other loans as well.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add to that. One paycheck for student loan, the other one, rent and all the other bills, but you'll get a handle on it. I guess it depends on how much student loan you have. I'm lucky I don't have that much, but I survive.
For me, my parents put me in a good situation, so for me it's not as much of a problem, but you know, I have friends that are 6-year PT, 7-year PT, AT people, and you know, I hear them talk about it with each other. I have friends who live at home, and
Your paychecks, some goes to your car, some goes to rent, and yeah, for me, I've been paying the minimum the entire time, and I lived at home for a year. I helped chip away. That year, I paid more than the minimum, but that certainly helped, and yeah, I think it's all just learning your finances. It comes on pretty quick.
Stefan said something kind of important. Well, they all did, but there was something you said that really resonated with me. Legislation. Student loan legislation comes up every now and again. And this year is an election year. Now, I'm not advocating any position on how you should vote or what your politics should be, but I will say, register to vote and look at what different people are saying about this, because you have a voice in this, in your own outcome. We had another question.
good morning.
Thanks for standing. It's good etiquette right there. Take note.
Anywho, I wanted to know with regards to your majors from college, how much of that applied to your current positions?
Can you say that again?
With regards to your majors in college, how much of that applied to your current positions?
For me, not too much, because I went to school for sport media. I'm not really into sport media. I like sports, I like the media, but I don't really use that major directly. But I would say the most important part of that I've used in my career would be the marketing stuff, I think. I think a lot of you've probably heard this before, it's not what you know, it's who you know. For the most part, that's true, especially in business. If you're like a surgeon or something, you better know what you're doing. That's a little different. But sales, entrepreneurship, business, a lot of it is who you know. The marketing was helpful for me, I would say, Because any type of sales business, you're going to have to know marketing. So learning some of that basic stuff is, but I will say though, the experience I've had since that is a million times more valuable than what I learned in the classroom. Sorry to burst your bubble, I know you spent a lot of money to go to school here, but the real life experience, networking, knowing people, doing things that result in a paycheck instead of a grade on a paper, is very valuable. So do go out there, do as much as you can for sure. And yeah, you know, I'm sure you'll learn that certain things from college are more valuable than others. And for me, it was probably the marketing stuff out of what I learned.
So, as I mentioned, I'm a grad student in higher ed and student affairs program, which is much different than my business major. But I think the skills that I learned in the School of Business are very transferable. Presentations, writing, just having in-person communication with people. You'd be surprised at how many people in graduate programs that didn't go through a business program before can't stand in front of a room and give a 10-minute presentation without freaking out. So I think that's something that I always have looked back on, and I'm really glad that I did that program.
For me, it's a little different because I majored in biochemistry. What I do now is actually work related, and even so, in what I try outside of the classroom, I try to do research with professors. So I did research with Dr. Ed Kulit, and a lot of the things that I learned in that are from cell culture.
We're coming in, we're in marketing, and they don't want to have like a healthcare background. I think it was probably easier for me to learn. But then again, now I haven't taken one business class, and I'm going to be applying these. We're going to be looking at margins and numbers and reaching our sales goals and stuff like that. So I'm lucky enough where I'm going to be using this science stuff because I want to apply it to business and sales. So you're going to be using some stuff, but the fundamental basis is where we're starting. And hopefully you're lucky enough to use some knowledge you already have.
Yeah, I'll kind of echo what Skylar and Sudie are saying. In my position now, I do use a lot of science, and I was a biochem major, but I think a lot of the experiences I had outside of the classroom also were transferable for me. Just like learning an area of professionalism, how to operate via even communications with emails, or really simple things that you realize in the workplace aren't usually all that universal. Things like when I was on campus, I was a tour guide briefly and was involved in the admissions office, so things like that, administrative things, learning how to talk to people, interact with people who are older than you is very important.
Great. Got another question right here.
My name is Khalid Batista, and I'm a senior sport media major. And professionally, what's the most outside of the comfort zone you've felt after college?
Outside. You know, I kind of went in the direction, I did what I wanted to do, so I was never really forced to do something out of my comfort zone. I guess when I first started, so after Vegas, when I came back to Ithaca, that's when I walked in this place called Mooney's, and it was a lot different back then. It was 2008, and Brian, you guys know Brian, tall Brian, owner, he had just taken over, and then we started talking, and long story short, since then, him and I have turned what it used to be into what it is now. And what you see, I mean, you'll see me DJ now, but you haven't seen the stuff that's happened in the last 8 years. I've been very fortunate enough that bar is a total 180 from what it used to be. I could talk all about that, but him and I, we've turned it into what it is now, which you guys hopefully enjoy. And that was a new experience, being a 21, 22-year-old, taking over a college bar, and the transition going from, okay, I'm the college student who used to go here, turning it into, okay, now I'm the business professional that's going to run this business and make it very profitable. And the combination of both, I think, helped being that I could relate to the college kids, because I was close to that age. I knew what I wanted, so what are they going to want, that type of thing. So I guess to start that, anyone that wants to be in like a management position or a leadership role, when you first start, it can be tough. There was a lot of learning. When I first became manager, I was 7 years ago, I had no business management experience. That was a little bit out of my comfort zone. There was definitely things I learned on the go, how to treat people, how to represent myself, how to act, how to get people to follow and follow me, that type of thing. So that's something you can't learn by reading, you can't learn by watching YouTube videos, you just gotta experience that. Those complaints you get from your employees, from the people that you're supposed to be leading and managing, and then you learn from there. So that's something that any of you that are interested in being a boss or going up the ranks, be ready for. And that could take you out of your comfort zone, but you just gotta learn, you gotta go with it and make mistakes and learn from them, move on, and learn how to do that.
So in my two kind of roles, positions, whatever you want to call it, since I graduated from here, so I worked at a law firm, and I started out as a receptionist, super boring, I got nothing out of it. And then another employee was going on maternity leave, so it was like trial by fire. They said, all right, you're going back in the back part of the office and doing like legal assistant, paralegal stuff. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what? Like, I don't want to mess with the law. It's kind of a big deal. So I worked in bankruptcy law, which is really complicated, and dealing with clients or other attorneys as a really young professional is scary. I mean, I was 21, 22 at the time, and I was talking to, very prominent lawyers and clients and stuff like that. So just being comfortable with people who are older than you, and also kind of not getting too hard on yourself for being young. I think that was something that I learned. And then in my role now, I have a graduate assistantship in the Office of First Year and Transfer Programs at Syracuse, which is our orientation office. And again, it was trial by fire. The first week I was there, it was orientation week, and I worked 160 hours in a week and a half. So I think a lot of it you'll find, at least in my experience, you learn by doing, and it's just pushing yourself and having enough humility to ask for help. I think that's something that a lot of people get stuck on. They don't want to ask for help, and then you don't get the results you want. So I think being honest with yourself and taking a step back and saying, okay, I need help, because I've never been anywhere where I didn't feel in a supportive environment, and I guess I'm very lucky in that sense. So I think that's something to always keep it in the back of your mind, is it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to ask questions.
I guess for me, when I joined the lab in 2014, it was a turnover. There was a huge turnover going on, and so I had to learn the techniques very quickly in order to teach postdocs and grad students and undergrads, people that were have doctorates and all these fancy titles, and I'm like, I'm going to teach you, and I just learned it yesterday, okay. And I have to exude this confidence as if, I know what I'm doing. But yeah, as most of my colleagues here have said, it's really trial and error. And don't be afraid to ask for help, because along the way I had to ask for help many times. I've never worked with mice before. They brought me down to the mouse room, was like, oh, these 4 racks are yours. Okay.
Something you don't hear every day.
I know. So, there's a lot of training, but 2 hours of training to take care of a colony of 300 mice. No. I need much more than that. So it took me a lot. My first few weeks, I was working, as she said, 120 hours a week. I worked 14 to 15 hours a day just to make sure that I learned all the techniques. And is the department that we have there is very cohesive, which is good, and people are willing to work with you. But on the other hand, it's very competitive, and you have to be as good. And especially since I didn't go to Cornell or some fancy Ivy League, I went to Ithaca College. I had to represent. So I did all I could, even if it's uncomfortable, and I didn't like touching them or what. I got up on my affairs, and I spent the time. I was down there with the mice, talking to them, saying, just be calm right now, don't bite me. And I was able to, I had to work hard, especially those first few months, to get over all my fears and to make, and to be able to speak up in meetings and stuff like that to people that are in this field for a long time, and to have your voice be heard, and to get that recognition that yes, I'm from IC, not one of you guys, and I can keep up with you, was really rewarding for me.
Wish I knew you back in college. I had a huge rat infestation on my college houses. Since I'm an expert. I won't tell you the address in case you guys live there.
I definitely think it's an experience, and you're gonna when I'm out of my comfort zone is when I'm in positions that I've never been in before, and that the only way you know how to do your job is by learning and being in the position that you haven't been in. But it's your job. It's going to happen over and over again, and we're all smart kids going into that. So it's just an experience thing that once you keep doing it, and it's going to happen naturally. That's because this is your job. This is what you're going to be doing every day. For me, at the hospital, the previous job, it was kind of tough because, I worked in the genetic service. What I did was I basically sat at the front desk. It was like a glorified receptionist, checking patients in, telling the doctors where the patients are, who's ready now, and there's a lot of operational stuff. And then there's like the phone lines that are open 9 to 5. And so we did breast cancer screenings, and some of these patients have cancer, and I'm on the phone with them. And I remember one day, I can't give too much information, but the phone lines are open 9 to 5. I'm covering the line. It's 4:58. I'm like, oh, God, the phone's ringing. Like, I'm about to get out of here in 2 minutes, and the phone rings, and it's this lady who has cancer, and I was on the phone with her for 35 minutes. She's just yelling at me. I mean, I didn't even do anything. I didn't even do anything. So but I learned. You learn how to cope with that situation. And I had, from there on, and other incidents, I had people on the phone, and I learned how to calm them down. You learn what to say. It's an experience thing, and with that patient, everything ended up working out. But this there's 4 months wait time for an appointment in the place. Imagine you're a patient calling in, trying to get genetic testing done, and there's a 4-month wait, and it's urgent. You have to explain how the whole process works. So people are reaming into you, but you learn from those experiences, and it's going to keep happening over and over again. The consistency, and then it'll happen naturally. So I think everyone will be good.
Yeah, I think having it happen naturally is definitely the case. I mean, that was the case for college for everybody too, right? I mean, it's like coming to a new place, you're out of your comfort zone, and I'm sure you've all grown in 4 years since that first day you stepped on campus, so that's kind of a moniker for the rest of your life. Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, I'm kind of echoing what they said also, but for me, I was promoted into a position that the next person in age is like 15 years older than me. So for me, it was learning how to work with people who are very different than me, a lot older, and don't necessarily want to train the new kid. So it's kind of understanding, finding mutual ground, and just being the best version of yourself and trying to connect with everybody, and just being open and communicable is very important. Yeah, I think being uncomfortable is what drives growth, so I'm a big proponent of that.
Truth. So believe it or not, I hate to say this, we are almost at time for this session. And I know you have other questions, I know you do, hopefully over the course of the day we can answer them. So I want to give our folks just one opportunity to give you any quick parting words of wisdom for where you are now and how to navigate the last bit of it.
Set goals, do what you want to do, don't let someone else tell you what you want to do. Go out there and meet people, experience as much as you can. I know there's a lot of great futures ahead of you for you guys. I know John helped me get a rental car at Enterprise, great job. Sabrina, I've hired her to do some marketing stuff for me. Mimi and I have done some event planning before. Allie and I have taken some selfies before, so I know there's a lot of prospective talent out there in this room. But just don't let anything stop you. Set goals, that's very important. Go out there and do it, and take a chance or two.
The biggest piece of advice I would say is enjoy the rest of your time here, because this is it. You won't get this experience again. That's why I'm pursuing a career in higher ed, because I loved college so much and I loved my experience here, and I'm thinking it's going to keep me young forever.
It does.
So I would just enjoy it. Don't stress out too much, because I know I set some really high expectations for myself, and that was probably the hardest thing for me to come to terms with, that my big goals and dreams weren't gonna just happen overnight. And I would just say that I hated my first job, but I learned a lot from it. So I think in those bad situations, you have to find the good in them and what you can take away from it, and I think that's really important to remember too.
Okay, real quick, I just want to say, if you haven't started searching for your jobs or doing interviews or that stuff, don't worry, don't do like me and go cry and eat some Ben and Jerry's and lie down at night and wonder what am I going to do with my life. It's okay. Trust me. There are many nights of American dream. But it's not too late. You can start right now. It's also about who you know, anywhere you go, so talk to people as much as you can, try to get off campus, get involved, it's not too late. They will ask you for references, so make contacts and keep them. Don't burn those bridges as soon as you graduate. Hats off, goodbye to you all. No, you're going to need references later on. So keep the contact, start working on your resumes and your LinkedIn and stuff like that, and keep talking to people. You never know who you talk to one day.
First, I know some people may be nervous about it, but you gotta enjoy the time. For some reason, I've only graduated a year and a half ago, but I've been up 5 times already, so. And it's a blast. Every time I come back, it is a blast, and it's the best, and it's amazing, because we all love this place. But I would definitely, you gotta enjoy it, but I would definitely say the things you can do with LinkedIn is like unbelievable. Just the connections you can make and how you can message people, and there's kind of a whole strategy you can do with that. So I would definitely say LinkedIn and informational interviews, just talking to your friends' parents, talking to not even trying to get a job. You're literally, if you go to them prepared with questions, you just want to know, they see that you're interested, they see that you're motivated, and then, oh, this is great that you did this, let me see, I know someone here. You just gotta talk to people, information interviews, and the things you can do with LinkedIn are just crazy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Don't ever turn down an interview. You can just go if it's just for practice. There's a lot to be said for that. Also, what DJ Washburn said, set goals. Very important. Don't set too high of goals. I did that, and you end up kind of disappointed. But you'll get there eventually. And it's all just a growing process.
All right. That was a lot of wisdom in a very short period of time. I want to thank our panelists for a wonderful and I encourage you to really take to heart what they said. This will be you in a couple of years. You'll get there. So we have about 15 minutes before the first concurrent session starts.